Well, the report of my death was an exaggeration. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish to present to you a man who is great learning and veneration for truth are only exceeded by his high moral character and majestic presence. I refer these vague general terms to myself. Now, I consider introductions unnecessary, but if it's the custom to have them, I prefer to do the act myself, so I can rely on getting all the facts. I must admit, my memory's not what it once was. When I was younger, I could remember anything, whether it happened or not. I do recall one instance, though, when I was presented to a group of people by a lawyer who kept his hands in his pockets. He introduced me as Mark Twain, a humorist who is funny. A rare creature indeed. Well, I was struck speechless by this complimentary thunderbolt. But we had in our midst that evening a creature even rarer than a humorist who was funny. We had a lawyer who kept his hands in his own pockets. Now, I've been a writer for 20 years and an ass for 55. It's been said that there are two men in the world who are most remarkable. Kipling is one, and I'm the other. Between us, we cover all knowledge. He knows all that can be known. I know the rest. Now, my name has been linked with that of the world's greatest authors. But I don't know if I like that. Shakespeare is dead. Chaucer's dead. Milton's gone. And so was Spencer. And I haven't been feeling very well myself lately. The village I was born in contained 100 people. I increased the population 1%. It's more than the best men in history could have done for a town. Now, when I was a boy of 14, my father was so outrageous, I was ashamed to have the man around. By the time I reached the age of 21, I was astounded to see how much he'd learned in just 7 years. I never let school interfere with my education. Well, I'm a border ruffian from the state of Missouri, and a Connecticut Yankee by adoption. With me, you have Missouri morals and Connecticut culture. That's the combination that makes a perfect man. I was born modest, but it wore off. Well, in deference to my gracious hosts, I'm not going to light my cigar this evening. Actually, I only smoke in moderation. I make it a rule never to smoke more than one cigar at a time. People ask me why I don't abstain. I've got nothing against abstinence, as long as it doesn't harm anybody. I practice it myself on occasion. I make it a rule never to smoke when I'm asleep. I do this to prove I'm not a slave to the habit. I can give it up any time I care to. Well, I've done so over 1,000 times. I believe there must be some sort of commandment against smoking for such similar insurrection. But I'm working to have it removed. Adam and Eve was always a favorite subject of mine. Adam and Eve had many advantages, but the principal one was that they escaped teething. Adam was but human. This explains it all. He did not want the apple for the apple's sake. He wanted it because it was forbidden. The mistake was in not forbidding the serpent. Well, then he would have eaten the serpent. How lucky Adam was. He knew when he said a good thing, no one ever said it before. Of course, he doesn't deserve all the credit. Much is due to Eve, the first woman, and Satan, the first consultant. After all this time, I realized I was mistaken about Eve in the beginning. It is better to live outside the garden with her than inside it without her. Eve once wrote in her diary, I have 9 children, half boys and half girls. Well, I firmly believe our Heavenly Father invented man because he disappointed the monkey. When God first made man, he put him way up there, just beneath the angels. Well, then he began to fall, and fall, and fall. And now he's somewhere between the angels and the French. Concerning man and the jackass, there are those that feel there isn't any difference. But this wrongs the jackass. If you cross a man with a cat, well, the man will improve, but the cat will deteriorate. Man was made at the end of the week's work when God was tired. It shows. In the first place, God made idiots. This was for practice. Then he made school boards. When God first invented man, he thought he made a mistake. Well, then he invented an insurance salesman, and he knew he made a mistake. Man is the only animal that blushes, or needs to. There are times I think it's such a pity that Noah and his entire party did not miss the boat. Well, I began my literary career as a journalist, and therefore followed the dictum, get your facts first. Later you can distort them as much as you please. I've had the opportunity to visit almost every country in the world in my time. I found Italy very interesting, with its artists and inventors, Michelangelo, Da Vinci. They spell it Vinci, but pronounce it Vinci. Foreigners always spell better than they pronounce. In Paris, they opened their eyes and stared when we spoke French. Never did succeed making those idiots understand their own language. Now, when the literary German dives into a sentence, that's the last you're going to see him until he emerges on the other side of the Atlantic with a verb in his mouth. I'd rather decline 2 drinks than 1 German adjective. I found the European community as a whole feel that we Americans, being part of a young nation, are uncivilized. The French writer Bourget said, the average American isn't sure who his grandfather was. Well, he is still better off than the average Frenchman, who isn't sure who his father was. I once interviewed the king of the Sandwich Islands. He told me, we understand Christianity. We ate the missionaries. One time at noon in Hawaii, I came across a bevy of nude young native ladies bathing in the surf. Well, I did the only proper thing a gentleman could do. I walked down to the beach and sat on their clothes to keep them from being stolen. My biggest disappointment, though, came with the Holy Land. Well, the Jordan was just a creek. And compared with Lake Tahoe, the Sea of Galilee wasn't much more than a big city reservoir. But still, an Arab boatman demanded $8 to take you sailing on those hallowed waters. Do you wonder now that Christ walked? Although I've been raised in the most exclusive circles of Missouri, I'd never attended a Wagnerian opera. So when I was in Germany, I went to Bayreuth and took in Parsifal. I shall never forget it. The first act occupied 2 hours, and I enjoyed it, in spite of the singing. Though singing may be the wrong name to apply to it. In Parsifal, there's a character by the name of Wernemans, a hermit, who stands there on the stage in one spot, practicing by the hour, while first one character and then another endures what he can of it, and then retires to die. I found the Germans like nothing better in their opera. They like it wholeheartedly, as a matter of habit and education. Our nation, too, will come to like the opera by and by. Why, 1 in 50 of those who attend the opera likes it already. And I suppose many of the other 49 go there with the idea of learning to like it. At least this was my case. Some of those Wagnerian operas bang along for 6 whole hours at a stretch. I remember the one called Lohengrin. The banging and crashing was something beyond belief. There wasn't much action, though. That is to say that there wasn't much that really happened. All they ever did was talk about it, and always violently. There was none of that customary thing where the tenor and soprano stand down there by the footlights, warbling with blended voices, reach their arms out toward one another, and draw them in, and place their hands across the first one breast and then another with the pressure to shake. You know? In this piece, it was every rioter for himself and no blending. Each person sang out his grievance in turn, accompanied by the whole orchestra of 60 instruments. And just we're hoping they might come to some sort of understanding and modify the noise, a great chorus composed entirely of maniacs would suddenly break forth. For the next 2 minutes, sometimes 3, I lived once again all I suffered the time the orphan asylum burnt down. We had but one brief season ahead during the long and diligent reproduction of that other place. It was in the 3rd act, when the gorgeous procession marched around the stage and sang the wedding chorus. Now, to my untutored ears, this was music, divine music. And while my seared soul was steeped in the healing balm of this passage, it seemed to me I could endure once again all the torment that had gone on before. But this is where the deep ingenuity of the opera reveals itself. They deal so much with sorrow and suffering that these gentle passages sound much sweeter by contrast. Well, I suppose a pleasant air would sound prettier in an opera than it would elsewhere. Just as an honest man shines more in politics than he would anywhere else. Well, I went to that opera with an old dowager lady, and she invited me to sit in her box. I did so. She talked the whole time, humming the tune, singing the verses. And when it was over, she asked me if I'd care to see Aida with her the following week. I said, I'd be delighted. I've never heard you in that one before. One thing that surprised me about German opera is that they hardly ever encore a song, even though the people may be dying to hear it again. Well, this is a blessing I'd not expected. I was grateful for it. All in all, I'd have to say that Wagner's music is really better than it sounds. Now, I found during my travels, there isn't a country on the face of the earth that doesn't have its share of drunkards, bigots, and criminals. But it could probably be shown by fact and figure that there is no distinctly Native American criminal class except Congress. Well, if somebody wanted to buy it, the entire legislature is up for sale. Now, suppose you're an idiot, and suppose you're a member of Congress. No, but I'll repeat myself. Once when Bill Swanson and I were poor young cub reporters, a frightful financial shortage occurred. We had to have $3 that very day. Well, Swanson maintained with simple confidence, the Lord will provide. Believe the Lord helps those who help themselves. I wandered into a hotel lobby trying to think of some way to get the money. Well, presently, a handsome dog came along and rested his jaw on my knee. General Miles passed by and stopped to pet him. He's a beautiful dog. Would you shut up? I was greatly moved. It was marvelous the way Swanson's prediction had come true. Yes, I said, his price is $3. Well, the general was surprised. Only $3? Well, I wouldn't take 100 for him. You must reconsider. No, $3, I said firmly. Well, the general acquiesced and led the dog away. In a few minutes, a sad-faced man came along, looking anxiously about. Are you looking for a dog? His face lit up. Yes, I am. Have you seen him? I have. And I think I could find him for you. I've seldom seen a person look more grateful. I said, I hope you wouldn't mind paying me $3. Dear me, that's nothing. I'd give you 10 willingly. I said, no, 3 is the price, and started off. Well, that's what Swanson said the Lord would provide. It would have been sacrilege to ask for more. Well, I went up to the general's room and explained that I was sorry, but I had to take the dog again. That only sold in the spirit of accommodation. I gave him back his $3 and returned the dog to his owner. I went away then with a good conscience because I'd acted honorably. I never could have used the thrill I sold the dog for. It was not right in my own. But the thrill I got for restoring him was properly mine. That man, I'd never gotten that dog back at all if it hadn't been for me. Now, there are those who feel that honesty is always the best policy. Well, this is superstition. There are times when the appearance of it's worth 6 of it. Carlyle said, a lie cannot live. It shows he had not had to tell them. I never could tell a lie that anybody would doubt, or a truth that anybody would believe. I come from a higher order than George Washington. He never could tell a lie. I could, but I won't. I never said, when in doubt, tell the truth. I said, when you are in doubt, tell the truth. I was more sagacity. Actually, I shall always confine myself to the truth, except when it's attended with inconvenience. I've come to disagree with Disraeli now, who said there's 3 kinds of lies. Lies, damn lies, and statistics. Every now and then in these days, the boys used to tell me I ought to get old Jim Blaine to tell me the stirring story of his grandfather's old ram. But they always added, I must not mention the matter, because Jim was drunk at the time. Just comfortably and socially drunk. Well, I got to haunting old Blaine. There was no use. The boys always found fault with his condition. He was often moderately, but never acceptably drunk. I never watched a man's condition with more absorbent interest. At last, I hurried over to his cabin one evening, for I learned his situation was such that even the most fastidious could not find fault with him. He was tranquilly, serenely, and symmetrically drunk. Not a hiccup to mar speech, nor a cloud upon his brain thick enough to obscure his memory. Well, as I entered, he was seated on an empty powder keg. There was a clay pipe in one hand. His other hand was raised to command silence. The boy said, "Shh! Don't speak. He's a-going to commence." "Well, I don't reckon them times will ever come again. They never was a more bully old ram than what he was. My grandfather got that old ram from a feller up in Siskiyou County, and he fetched him home and turned him loose in the meadow. And the next day, he went down there to have a look look at him, and he accidentally dropped a 10-cent piece in the grass. And he stooped down, and was fumbling in the grass to get it. And the ram's up the slope, taking notice. But my grandfather wasn't taking notice because he had his back turned to the ram, and he's more interested about the dime. Well, there he was, I was saying, down at the foot of the slope, bending way over, and the ram's up the top of the slope, and Smith was standing there, and not just there, a little further away, 15 foot perhaps. Well, my grandfather, he's stooping way down. And the ram's up the slope observing. And Smith. And then the ram, he bent his head down. Smith the Calaveras. No. It could have been Smith the Calaveras. I remember just the other day that, George, it was Smith of Tulare County. Of course it was. I remember now perfectly plain. Well, Smith, he stood just there. And my grandfather, he stood right here. And he's bending way over, and fumbling in the grass. And when the ram see him in that attitude, he took it for an invitation. And here he come down the slope 30 miles an hour, and his eyes full of business. You see, my grandfather's back being to him and him fumbling. I show. It weren't Smith and Tulare at all. It was Smith of Sacramento. My goodness, had ever come to getting them Smith fixed like that? Well, Smith of Tulare was just a nobody. But Smith of Sacramento, why, the Smiths of Sacramento come of the best Southern blood in the United States. Ain't no better blood south of the line than Sacramento Smiths. Well, look here. One of them married a Whitaker. I reckon that gives you an idea of the kind of society the Sacramento Smiths could associate around with. Ain't no better blood than a Whitaker blood. I reckon anybody would tell you that. Well, look at Mariah Whitaker. There's a girl for you. Little. Yeah, she was little, but what of that? Look at that heart of her. Had a heart like a bullet. And just as nice and kind and generous as the day is long. If she had a thing and you wanted it, you could have it and welcome. Mariah Whitaker couldn't have a thing and another person needed it, and then not get it, and welcome. She had a glass eye. And she used to loan it to Flora Ann Baxter, who had it to receive company with. Well, she was pretty large and it didn't fit. It was a number 7, and she was excavated for a 14. And so that I wouldn't lay still. Every time she blinked, it would turn over. It was a beautiful eye. And it set her off admirable. Because it's a lovely pale blue on the front side, the side you look at it. And it was gilded on the back side. It didn't match her other eye, which was one of them brown, yellowy eyes, all tranquil and serene. You know the way that kind of eyes are. But that ain't no matter. They work together good and plenty picturesque. Every time Flora Ann blinked, that blue and gilt eye would turn over and other ones stand still. And as soon as she begun to get excited, why, that handmaid eye would give a whirl, then go on a whirl and a whirl, and faster, first a flashing blue and then yellow, and then blue and then yellow, and blue and then yellow. And when it got to whizzing and flashing like that, the oldest man in the world couldn't keep up with the expression on that side of her face. Grown people didn't mind it. Most always made the children cry. Well, it was kind of scary. Flora Ann Baxter married a Hagedorn. I reckon that's to understand what kind of blood she was. Old Maryland Eastern Shore blood. Not a better family in the United States than the Hagedorns. Sally, that's Sally Hagedorn. Sally married a missionary. And they went off carrying the good news of them cannibals on some island around the world moving ocean summers. And they ate her. Ate him too, which was a regular. Well, they want the cuss eat the missionary, only the families. When they see what they had done, they were dreadful sorry about it. And when the relations sent down there to fetch away the things, they said so right out. Said they were sorry and apologized. Said it shouldn't have begun. Said it was an accident. Now, that's foolishness. There ain't no such thing as an accident. There ain't nothing what happens in this world that wasn't ordered just so by a much wiser power than us. And for a good purpose, too. Now, we don't always know what that good purpose was. And such was the case with them families that were short, the missionary and his wife. But that ain't no matter. Ain't our business. All that concerns us is that it was a special providence and it had a good intention. No, sir. There ain't no such thing as an accident. Well, you look at my Uncle Lem. What I say about that, huh? You look at my Uncle Lem and talk to me about accidents. One day, Uncle Lemon's dog was downtown. He was leaning up against a scaffolding, drunk or sick or something. And there was an Irishman with a hod of bricks up a ladder, long about the third story. And his foot slipped, and down he come, bricks and all. Hit a stranger fair and square. Knocked the everlasting aspirations out of him. He's ready for the coroner in 2 minutes. Well, people said it was an accident. Why, sure, there wasn't no accident about it. It was a special providence, and it had a mysterious and noble intention back of it. Well, the idea was to save that Irishman. If that stranger hadn't been there, the Irishman would have been killed. Well, people say, special providence. Well, show the dog was there. Why didn't he fall on the dog? Why weren't the dog upon him? Well, for a mighty good reason. Well, the dog would have seen him coming. So you can't depend on a dog to carry out a special providence. You can't hit a dog with an Irishman because, let me say, what was that dog's name? Oh, yes, Jasper. It's a mighty good dog, too. He weren't no common dog. He weren't no mongrel. He was a composite. Now, a composite is a dog who's made up of all the good qualities of dog's breed. Kind of like a syndicate. And a mongrel's made up of all the riffraff that's left over. Yes, that Jasper was a wonderful dog. Uncle Lem got him with the Wheelers. I reckon you heard of the Wheelers. We're not a better family in the United States than the Wheelers. One day, old Wheeler was a meditating dream at the carpet factory. and machinery made a snatch out of it. And first, you know, he's meandering all over that factory, from the garret to the cellar and everywhere. And, oh, it's such an altered gait, you couldn't even see him. You could only hear him whiz when he went by. Well, a person can't go through an experience like that and arrive back home the same way he was when he went. No. Old Wheeler got wove up into 39 yards of the best three-ply carpeting. His widow was sorry. She was uncommon sorry. And she loved him. And she done the best she could for him under the circumstances. She took the whole piece, all 39 yards. She wanted to arrange for a proper and honorable burial, but she couldn't bear to roll him up. And so she laid him out, full length, all 39 yards. She wanted to buy a tunnel for him, but there wasn't no tunnel for sale. And so she boxed him in a beautiful box and stood on a pedestal on a hill, 21 foot high. So it was both a monument engraved together and economical. 60 foot high. People could see it from everywhere. And she painted on it, to the love and memory of 39 yards of the best three-ply carpeting, containing the remainders of Millington G. Wheeler. Go down, do likewise. Well, at this point, the historian's voice grew wobbly, and his eyelids became droopy, and pretty soon he was fast asleep. And from that time until this very day, we never did learn whether or not his grandfather ever found his dime, or whatever happened with the ram, or if anything ever happened at all. Well, I see some people very nicely attired here this evening. I've always said that clothes make the man. Naked people have little or no influence in society. I see a good number of gentlemen in the office, in the audience here too. This is not quite like the time when I gave a lecture to the Boston Ladies Society. I was the only lady of my sex present. Now, is there a doctor in the house here? Well, I know a young man has been a doctor a year now, and he's had 2 patients. Or was it 3? Yes, it was 3. I attended their funerals. One time in Hannibal, there was a tremendous fire. An old man Hankinson was trapped on the 4th story of the burning building. Looked as if the old man was a goner. None of the ladders in town was long enough to reach him. Nobody knew what to do. Nobody knew what to say. Nobody had any presence of mind. Nobody, except for me. I could see I had to spring into action. Fetch me a rope, I called. Well, when the rope came, I took one end of it, and I threw it up to Mr. Hankinson. He caught it. Tie it around your waist. Well, he did so, and I pulled him down. John Wagner, the oldest man in Buffalo, 104 years old, he's due to be married next week to a woman 102 years old. They've been engaged for 85 years. But they couldn't get married until they finally got their parents' permission. Once in Hannibal, I came across a conversation between two gentlemen. And one fellow was admonishing the other. He said, "Shame on you. I think that's mean and rude and cruel. I can't believe you haven't spoken a word to your wife for the past 15 years. The other fellow replied, "I didn't want to interrupt her." Bill Nye was the baldest man I ever knew. His whole skull would glisten like a dome when the sun shone on it. One day, Bill fell overboard from a riverboat. When he came up, one woman's voice was heard screaming louder than all the others. "Shame on you, sir. Ain't ladies present. You go back down and come up the other way." I've been on some awfully slow trains in my time. I remember one in particular. It stopped every 300 or 400 yards. I was irate. I was so angry when the conductor came around to collect the fare. I paid him only half fare, which at that time was customarily used for children. He glowered at me and asked sarcastically, "Sir, are you a child?" He said, "Not anymore, but I was when I got on your train." It had one of those there cow catchers right in the front of the engine. I don't know why. He was going too slow to catch any cows. They could have just stuck it at the back of the caboose and let the cow walk right onto the car. Now, I found the postal system to not be much better. I once owed a man in Ohio a dozen chickens and calculated it'd be cheaper to mail him the eggs and let him develop along the way. Well, one of the results of a long and notorious career is that you receive a great many requests for advice. I'm often asked to speak before groups of young people and advise them as to the proper approach to life. And I'm always delighted to do this, but there are some things in my brain that I've longed to say for the instruction of young. Just a few simple rules now I'd like to pass along to you. I suggest you take them home and distribute about the neighborhood. First, we always want to start off with, "My dear young friends, always obey your parents when they are present." Now, you'll find this the best policy, because if you don't, they will make you anyway. Most parents think they know better than you, and you can generally make more by humoring that superstition than by acting on your own better judgment. Be respectful to your superiors, if you have any. Now then, if a person offends you, and you are in doubt as to whether or not the offense was intentional, do not resort to extreme measures. Simply watch your chance, and then hit him with a brick. That would be sufficient. Later learn that no offense was intended. Come right out frankly when you hit. Acknowledge it like a man, but do not use violence. In these times of kindliness and gentility, there is no need for such measures. Leave dynamite to the low and unrefined. Go to bed early and get up early. Now, this is very wise. Some authorities say you should get up with the sun. Some say get up with one thing and some with another. But a lark is really the best thing to get up with. Gives you a splendid reputation with everybody to know you get up with a lark. And if you find yourself the right kind of lark and work them right, you can easily train them not to get up to 9:30 every time. Now then, as to the matter of lying, my dear young friends, you've got to be very careful about lying. Otherwise, you're really sure to get caught. And once caught, you can never be in the eyes of the good and pure what you once were. Some authorities say the young ought not to lie at all. That's putting it pretty strong. Strong enough. Well, I don't go that far. I do maintain, and I believe I'm right, that the young should be tempered use of this great art until such time as practice and experience have given the confidence, the elegance, and precision which can make this accomplishment graceful and profitable. These in turn make the student perfect. You just think for a minute what tedious years of study went to the equipment of that peerless old master who was able to impose upon the whole world the lofty and ringing maxim, truth is mighty and will prevail. The most majestic compound fracture of fact that any woman born has yet achieved. While the history of the whole human race, as well as each individual's experience, is sown thick with evidence that a truth is not hard to kill, but a lie told well is immortal. Never handle firearms carelessly. The sorrow and suffering that is brought about by the heedless, though innocent, handling of firearms by the young is simply appalling. I remember a case last summer in the house adjoining ours. In it, there lived an old grandmother, all gray and sweet, loveliest spirit in the land. Well, she was seated at her work one afternoon when her young grandson crept in, took down a battered old musket that hadn't been touched for years and was not supposed to be loaded. He pointed at her, laughing, and threatened to shoot. Well, the poor old soul ran screaming and pleading toward the door, but as she passed him, he pulled the trigger. Now then, he had supposed the gun not to be loaded. And he was right, it wasn't. So no harm was done. But it's the only case that I kind of ever heard. So for heaven's sake, don't meddle with empty, unloaded firearms. They're amongst the most deadly, unerring things ever created by man. Don't have to take any pains with them. Don't have any sights on the gun. Don't even have to take aim. Just pick out a relative and bang away, and you're sure to get him. While a youth who couldn't hit a cathedral at 30 yards with a Gatling gun can take down an empty old musket and bang his grandmother every time. You just think for a minute what Waterloo would have been if one of those armies was made up of young boys with guns not supposed to be loaded and the uncomposed relations. The very thought of it makes me shudder. Now then, there's all sorts of books, but good ones are for the young to read. Remember that, my young friends. They are a great and unspeakable means of improvement. So be careful in your selection and confine yourself to the likes of The Innocents Abroad, Tom Sawyer, Huckleberry Finn, other works of that nature. Well, I hope you'll treasure up these words I give you. Use them as a guide to your feet and a light to your understanding. Build your character thoughtfully and painstakingly upon these precepts. And by, once you got it built, you'd be surprised and delighted to see just how nicely and sharply it resembles everyone else's. One time, I was in a small town to give a lecture, and I stopped in the local barber shop to be shaved. And the barber stared at me and said, "Sir, are you a stranger in town?" "Well, I'm a stranger to you." "Well, you know, Mark Twain's coming to town tonight to give a lecture. Are you going to see him?" "Yes, I think I shall." "Have you got your ticket yet?" "No, I'm afraid I haven't." "Oh, I'm afraid you're out of luck. You're going to have to stand. All the seats have been sold." How annoying. It seems if I always have to stand whenever I hear that man Twain lecture. At this point in the program, I'd like to share with you some philosophies and observations I've acquired over the past few years. It is better to keep your mouth shut and appear stupid than to open it and remove all doubt. When angry, count 4. When very angry, swear. Never put off until tomorrow what you can just as easily put off until the day after tomorrow. Nothing so needs reforming as another person's habit. Familiarity breeds contempt and children. A classic is a book that everybody praises, but nobody reads. Fine literature is like wine. Mine is like water. Everybody drinks water. The difference between the right word and the almost right word is the difference between lightning and the lightning bug. If you wish to succeed in any endeavor, first get all the fools in town on your side. That's a big enough majority in any town. Scotch whiskey to the Scotsman is as innocent as milk is to the rest of the human race. The game of golf is nothing more than a nice walk, spoiled. The holy passion of friendship is of so steady and loyal and enduring a nature that it will last a lifetime, unless asked to lend money. It's difficult for people to accept and realize the fact that while you've been growing older, your friends haven't been standing still. Each person is born to one possession, which outvalues all his others. His last breath. Well, I'm going to tell you a story about a boy now. Some of you have been boys, and many of the others of you had a good deal to do with boys. Once, there was a bad little boy whose name was Jim. Now, if you'll notice, you will find that Bad boys are nearly always called James in your Sunday school books. It was strange, but still it was true. This one was called Jim. He didn't have any sick mother either. A sick mother who was pious and had the consumption, and would be glad to lay down in the grave and be at rest, were it not for the strong love she bore her boy, and the anxiety she felt that the world would be harsh and cold toward him when she was gone. Most bad boys in Sunday school books are called James and have sick mothers to teach them to say, "Now I lay me down," etc., and sing them to sleep with sweet, plaintive voices, and kiss them goodnight, and kneel by the bedside with them. It was different with this fellow. He was called Jim, and there wasn't anything the matter with his mother. No consumption or anything of that kind. He was rather stout than otherwise, and she was not pious. Moreover, she was not anxious on Jim's account. She said if he broke his neck, it wouldn't be much loss. She always slapped him to sleep, and she never kissed him goodnight. On the contrary, she boxed his ears when she was ready to leave him. Well, once this bad boy stole the key to the pantry and slipped in there, helped himself to some jam. And then he filled up the vessel with tar, so his mother would never know the difference. But all at once, a terrible feeling didn't come over him. And something didn't seem to whisper to him, "Isn't it right to disobey my mother? Isn't it sinful to do this? Where do bad boys go who gobble up their good, kind mother's jam?" And then he didn't kneel down all alone and promise never to be wicked again. And then rise up with a light, happy heart and run, tell his mother all about it, and beg her forgiveness, and be blessed by her with tears of pride and thankfulness in her eyes. No. That's the way it happened to the bad boys in the Sunday school books. Happened otherwise with his Jim, strangely enough. He ate that jam and said it was bully in a sinful, vulgar way. And he put it in the tar and said that was bully also. And laughed. And observed that the old woman would get up and snort when she found it out. And when she did find it out, he denied knowing anything about it. And she whipped him severely, and he did the crying himself. Very curious. Nothing like that ever happened in Sunday school books. Once he climbed on a farmer acorn's apple trees to steal some apples. And the limb didn't break. And he didn't fall and break his arm and get torn by the farmer's great dog. And then languish in a sickbed for weeks and repent and become good. Oh no. He stole as many apples as he wanted, and he came down all right, and he was all ready for the dog too, not the endwise with a brick when he came to tear him. It was very strange. Nothing like it ever happened in those mild little books with marble backs and with pictures of men with swallowtail coats and bell-crowned hats and pantaloons that were short on the leg. Women with the waists of their dresses under their arms and no hoops on. Nothing like the Sunday school books. Once, he stole a teacher's penknife. When he's afraid to be found out and he'd get whipped, he slipped it under George Wilson's hat. Poor Widow Wilson's son. The moral boy. The good little boy of the village who always obeyed his mother, never told an untruth, was fond of his lessons, and was infatuated with Sunday school. Well, when the knife fell out, and poor George hung his head and blushed, as if in conscious guilt, and the grieved teacher charged the theft upon him, and was just in the very act of bringing the switch down upon his trembling shoulders, a white-haired and probable justice of the peace did not suddenly appear in their midst and strike an attitude and say, "Spare that noble boy. There stands the Karen culprit." I was passing by the school door at recess, and unseen myself, I saw the theft committed. And then Jim didn't get well. And the venerable justice did not grieve the truthful schoolboy out homily. And then take poor George by the hand and say that such a boy deserved to be exalted. And invited him home and live with him. Sweep out the office. Chop wood. Build fires. Study law. Help his wife do the household labors. And have the balance of the time to spend at play and get 40 cents a month to be happy. No. That's the way it happened in the Sunday books. Not that way with Jim. No Mellon old clamor of justice dropped by to make trouble, and so the model boy George got thrashed. And Jim was glad of it, because, Jim hated Mormon boys. He always said he was down on them milksops. Such was the coarse language of this bad, neglected boy. But the strangest thing that ever happened to Jim was the time when he went out boating on Sunday and didn't get drowned. And that other time when he was caught in a storm while fishing on Sunday and didn't get struck by lightning. Well, you can look for all your Sunday school books from now until next Christmas and never come across anything like this. Oh no. You will find that all the bad boys that go boating on Sunday invariably get drowned. And all the bad boys who get caught in storms while fishing on Sunday infallibly get struck by lightning. Why? Boats with bad boys who can always overturn on Sunday. And it always storms when bad boys go fishing on the Sabbath. How did Jim ever escape's a mystery to me. This Jim bore a charmed life. That must have been the way of it. Why, nothing could hurt him. He even gave the elephant menagerie a plug of tobacco. And the elephant did not chop his head off with his trunk. And he ground through the cupboard for essence of peppermint and didn't make the mistake and drink aquafortis. And he stole his father's gun, went hunting on the Sabbath, and didn't shoot 3 or 4 of his fingers off. And he struck his little sister on the temple with his fist when angry. And she didn't suffer through long summer days in agony. And then died with sweet words of forgiveness on her lips that redoubled the anguish of his breaking heart. No, she got over it. Well, he went off and ran away to sea at last, and didn't come home to find himself all alone in the world. His loved ones sleeping in the quiet churchyard. The vine embowered home of his boy had tumbled down and gone to decay. Oh no. He came home drunk as a piper, got himself a station house first thing. And he grew up married, raised a large family, and brained them all with an axe one night. And then he became wealthy by all manner of cheating and rascality, and now is the wickedest, infernal scoundrel in his native village, and he's universally respected and belongs to the legislature. So you see, there never was a bad James in the Sunday school books who had such a streak of luck as did the sinful Jim with a charmed life. When a man gets the to be my age, he has to start thinking about leaving this great earth of ours. I came in 1835 with Halley's Comet. I'd be very disappointed if it didn't go out with it. The Almighty must have thought it was interesting to have two freaks of nature appear at the same time. I'm going to leave my skull at Cornell University so scientists can examine it and send me a report. I've had a good life. I've traveled, seen every foreign country I cared to, except heaven and hell. And I have only a vague curiosity about one. Though I would like to see my old ancestor, Satan. Now, I have no special regard for him, but I think it can be safely said I have no prejudice against him. It may even be that I lean a little in his direction, on account of his not getting a fair shake. Well, religions issue Bibles against him, say most injurious things about him, but we never hear his side. We have only the evidence for the prosecution, and yet we've already rendered a verdict. Now, to my mind, this is highly irregular. It is un-English. It's un-American. It is French. I'm not saying we should pay him any special attention, but that would be highly indiscreet. But we can at least regard his talents. Any man who has, for untold centuries, maintained a posture of spiritual head of 4/5 of the human race and political head of the whole of it must have executive abilities. I should like to meet him. I would rather meet him and shake him by the tail than any other statesman on earth. And I probably will. You know, when a man goes to heaven to put all the time in trying to improve himself, he will study, and progress, and if that isn't hell, I don't know what is. A man goes to heaven for the climate, but hell for the company. Well, I try not to talk too much about heaven and hell. I've got friends in both places. Well, it's a slow death, being taught to death. So I'm going to give you good people a chance to escape. This is the end of my performance, and I'd like to bring the festivities to a close with any random observations that may have registered during the course of the proceedings. First, I've never witnessed a presentation of this nature that is a tribute to a man and his work that was more ably produced or richly deserved. The decision of honor, so worthy and magnificent a subject, reflects not only on the excellence of the source material, but on the great humility of the author. Many years ago, I was approached by a young man who had studied my work over a lengthy period of time, a fact verified by his sleepy and disoriented look. He asked me what single quality a writer most needed in order to become successful. Well, I was gratified to be able to answer promptly and did. I said I didn't know. The remainder of my personal philosophy can be summed up in this. always do right. This will gratify some people and astonish the rest. Thank you.
Graciously agreed to answer a couple of questions if anybody in the audience has such a question. Yes. No? Did he clear everything up for you? Thank you very much.